Hi, and
Great, thanks very much, Rory. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me this morning for this UME Makes It Easy webinar. My name is Angela Anderson, and I've been invited to join you today to explain how you might recruit more effectively in 2023. No pressure there. I'm Managing Director of Zenith People. We're a recruitment business and have been recruited across various sectors across the North East for the last 22 years. And I'm also Managing Director of Zenith Training. We're a training business delivering apprenticeships, funded training, commercial training, professional qualifications, again, across all sectors in the North East. And we've been doing that for the last 12 years. So hopefully through a bit of subject matter knowledge and a few years experience, I can offer up an action plan for you this morning to help you hit the brief of the session. And Rory tells me that you should feel free to ask questions throughout the session via the live Q&A button, and we can answer those at the end. So if we start, I think we all understand that recruiting the right people is a challenge that all businesses face, especially at the moment. It's a difficult candidate marketplace out there, and that means we need to find more effective and creative ways to stand out from the crowd beyond salary offer alone. What I'm hoping to give you this morning is some food for thought as to how you can, how this can be achieved, and a bit of a practical guide as to how you can audit your applicant experience and ensure that it's simple, engaging, and effective. We're going to start with a bit of context around the 2023 recruitment marketplace. We'll touch briefly on your organisational offer and how this should position you to attract applicants. And then we'll look at the recruitment process itself in a bit more detail. I've taken a very practical view, looking at the stages from an applicant's point of view, how you keep them engaged throughout the process and get them ready to make the right decision if you decide to offer them a job. Specifically, we'll cover how to identify the challenges within your recruitment process, why communication is key, pace and structure, offer and onboarding, and we'll also look at what you can do as employers to retain good staff. Okay, so as I said, we'll start with some context, so that we understand why it's important to get the recruitment process right. I think we'd all agree it's a tough candidate marketplace out there at the moment. And what we're finding, and I'm sure some of these points will resonate with you guys, is that we're getting very low applicant volume or completely inappropriate applications. Sometimes you wonder if anybody's out there, and then when they are, why they think they can be a burn surgeon when they're actually a tree surgeon. So there is a little bit of that going on at the moment. We're getting high numbers of no-shows or no responses, and I think there's a couple of reasons for this. Firstly, there's a lot of choice out there. There's a lot of vacancies, so people can apply for a number of jobs. And then you combine that with the fact that a lot of the online jobs boards, the likes of Indeed, CV Library, etc., make it very, very easy for somebody to apply for a job. Could be watching Coronation Street, and in the break you've applied for 4 jobs. And to be fair, do you actually remember what they were the next day? So I think that's basically there's a lot of apathy around the recruitment process and not a lot of commitment. We're seeing a high number of counter offers. Everyone knows it's difficult to find staff, so they're working very, very hard to kind of hang on to the ones that they have. I think we all know that counter offer is a bit of a flawed strategy. 70% of counter offered employees still go on to leave within 12 months, stating that actually nothing's changed. So it is a flawed strategy, but it doesn't prevent some employers counter offering and people accepting those counter offers. We're seeing significant upward salary pressure. So salaries are rising, but so are salary expectations. And we're seeing quite a lot of high attrition, which is being brought about by lots of choice and also employees changing their priorities. And then finally, I think you're seeing that good candidates are very, very in demand. So the processes are moving very, very quickly. If you snooze, basically you lose when it comes to good candidates. So if you throw into this mix a range of post-COVID factors, and we've put just 3 on the screen there for you, personal, health and work related. These factors are also kind of feeding into a difficult candidate marketplace. So if you look at personal, 40% of people who are moving and wanting to leave cities for the countryside. I think this tide is turning, but it is still a big trend, and it shows you where people's priorities are post-COVID. From a health perspective, 65% of pre-existing mental health conditions have been worsened by and since COVID. And then if you look at work, only 10% of workers are wanting necessary to return to the office full time. So I think we could throw them into the mix. It makes for an environment where finding the right people for your business is harder than ever. And therefore ensuring that your recruitment process is effective as possible has never been more important. If we take that context a little further and look at reasons why people are looking for new jobs, we identify further factors we need to consider when we're trying to attract applicants. People leave jobs for a number of reasons. There are push factors, and these are the things that push them away, drive people away from their current organisation. Organisational change, management, lack of opportunity, lack of recognition and reward, and culture are all factors that push people away from their current employers. But there are also pull factors working against us as well in some respects. These are the things that attract people to another employer. So things like opportunity, career development, work-life balance, alignment with goals, and salary and benefits. You'll notice that salary is at the bottom of the list, and we've included it there for a reason. If I bring you onto the next slide, we're finding that especially post-COVID, salary is becoming less of a driver than other factors. This is a graphic which outlines the results of a recent survey into what attracts people into a new role. Out of the 12 reasons that outlined, salary came in 10th. So factors such as challenge, interest, work-life balance, security, development, and trust scored much higher than salary, which I think is a real shift in recent years. People value their work-life balance much more deeply post-COVID, and factors such as flexibility, hybrid, or working from home have become more important. Also, people now are more concerned with ethics and aligned beliefs with their employers. So when you factor this information alongside the general candidate information that we just talked about a minute ago, we can see that it's not just the process, but our organisational offer and our employer brand that are also key to effective recruitment. So when we're identifying the challenges in our recruitment process, we need to be asking ourselves two questions. Firstly, have you reviewed how you communicate your employer brand and organisational offer with potential employees? And two, how easy is it for a potential candidate to become employed by you versus other organisations out there? We're going to be focusing on that second question for the main part of the session this morning. However, I just wanted to touch on the first one briefly before we move on. So right now, information is available everywhere. We all check everything online before we commit to anything. It could be a restaurant, it could be a hotel, it could be the tiniest little thing off Amazon we need a review before we're prepared to make a decision. No doubt you'll all do a social media check on prospective employees. So it's not unreasonable to assume that a potential employee is going to have the same level of due diligence around you as an employer. So all online, offline channels can be explored, and every interaction that you make matters, as people are always going to be making a choice about whether to apply. So a question to ask yourselves is, have you looked at your website recently? Have you looked at your LinkedIn profile, your Facebook page, your Instagram account, or TikTok, if you understand it? That one passes me by a little bit at the moment. However, all of these channels you can control, and they should positively represent your business to potential applicants. For the ones which are less easy to control, so your Google reviews, your Facebook comments, your Glassdoor comments, etc., just ensure you're interacting with the comments that are made, even if they're negative. Make sure you interact constructively. Don't go down a rabbit hole in that direction. Don't just ignore them. Everybody's had a disgruntled employee at some point. You can't please all of the people all the time. It's the way that you respond to those negative remarks that can tell an awful lot about who you are as an employer to a prospective employee. So take some time to audit all of the information that's out there that a potential applicant can access, and just make sure it paints the picture that you want them to see. Help them make the right decision should you want to offer them a job. So we've taken a look at the candidate marketplace. We've had a look at what's driving people to apply for a new job, what's attracting them to certain employers, and the research that most will undertake before making an application. So now what we need to look at is the process that we make them follow. They say that you never really know someone until you walk a mile in their shoes. And I think the same can be said about your recruitment process. Have you checked yours from an applicant's point of view? Have you had a look at go back and have a look at one of your live vacancies and take some time to walk through the application process step by step. Is it logical? Is it consistent? Is it simple? Is there anything that raises any red flags or any questions? And are there opportunities along the way for somebody to ask a question and speak to somebody? Is it basically doing you justice, or are there things that you need to change to make the process as user-friendly and representative of your organisation as possible? We're going to walk through one of our recent recruitment processes for a member of our own staff, just to see what we need to consider. And we're not saying that we're perfect by any stretch of the imagination. We just have a good example to show you here. In February, we recruited a new marketing manager, Wes, who is kindly responsible for this slide deck this morning. And this is the process we went through to recruit him. If I'm absolutely honest, it was one of the processes that just clicked the whole way through. But I think the processes that we had in place were one of the big reasons it did click. And I think this is kind of what you're getting yourself ready for, is when the right candidate comes along, you can move at the appropriate pace. This is the ad that appeared online, and it's very clear in terms of its location, the job role, the salary range, and it's got a very simple instruction to access further information. Basically, scroll down, and it's a straightforward application call to action at the bottom. Also down there, you just can't see it on the screen grab, is there are contact details for any prospective applicant to contact us verbally or digitally to discuss the role further. I think much as we're an automated and digital environment these days, sometimes it's just nice to speak to somebody if you have a question and you need to make that option available to people. So what you need to do from here is consider really how your job posts appear online. Are they conveying the information that any potential applicant needs quickly and clearly? Is it easy for them to take the next step and find out more? So, once you click on one of our job posts for more information, you're taken directly to our website, to the page where the job advert is actually hosted. This is how it initially appears. All the applicant needs to do is click to read more. So this is a screen grab, but I've got a web link here, and that should take us to our website. I'll put this job back up this morning. Nobody apply, because it's Wes's job. But it's just so that you can actually see. Can you see that? Can you see the web page, Rory? Yeah, great, thank you. So, yeah, this is the way that it appears online when you click through the job advert. The marketing job outline has lots of detail now for potential applicants to read. There's a good amount of information on the role and the responsibilities and the skills and personality traits that we're looking for, and also the benefits package that comes along with this. The job role information is obviously supplemented with the information on the site. So you can see a little bit about us on the site, who we are, how we got here. Is that better? Right. Okay. So I'll go back to the job role then. Sorry about that. So there's the job role, and there's the information I was talking about. So this is information on the role itself and the responsibilities, and the character traits that we're looking for, and skills, and the benefits at the bottom. But going back to what I was saying before is, we need to be giving candidates, potential applicants, a little bit more information about who we are as an organisation so they can make a broader decision. So on our website, you'll find what you'd expect to find, to be fair, information on us as a business, how we got here, who we are, how we work, and also information on the team, our location, the services that we deliver, etc. But what we also have on the website is a work here section. And this basically is a little bit more personal about who we are and what it's like to work here. So we'll have a bit of background information, some pictures from various socials. That's a terrible one of me. And then also we have some testimonials from the guys who work here, and a bit more about extended terms and conditions, the full package, etc. So what we're trying to do here is make potential applicants feel like they know us, to make ourselves relatable and to attract the type of people who can add value to our culture. Once a potential applicant's had a good rummage around and reading about the role and our organisation, if we've got it right, they'll want to apply for the job. Okay, so now I'm going to have to go back to my presentation, so bear with me a second. Right, great. Okay, so we need to make the application process as simple as possible. We need to get all the information we need from the applicant, but in a way that's as least off-putting as possible. I don't know about you, but if I get more than 4 steps in a process, you've lost me. I'm either bored or confused, basically. So we need to make the process, like I say, as simple as possible. I saw an example recently of actually a pretty poor way to do it. It was for a housing association, and they had a brilliant website, really engaging. The tone of voice was fantastic, and I could see what they were trying to achieve. Their jobs page had all the information on there about the roles, but if you wanted to apply, you had to actually create an account to apply, then go through a scenario-based application form, fill a lot of answers in, and upload your CV. And that was before you really got any information or any skin in the game about why you might want to apply for the role. So I think that process, only the most tenacious of candidates would have that kind of stamina at that stage of the process. You might feel that actually weeds out those who aren't serious about the process, but actually in reality, it just puts people off in a marketplace where there aren't actually that many candidates around in the first place. Our call to action, you can see on the screen there, is a really simple form. Give us your name, your telephone number, your email address, and upload your CV, and you are good to go. Obviously, we need to make sure that we have enough information to make an informed decision as to whether to progress the applicant, but we feel that initial screening point is actually the prime time to verbally engage and start with an applicant and start the conversation. So I mentioned the housing association there. That was a bit of a challenging applicant experience. I just thought I'd throw an example in here into the mix of an organisation who's doing things well when it comes to the application process, and that's Citizens Advice Gateshead. So whether you like the aesthetics of the website, this is the jobs page. Once you click into it, this is what you'll see if you want to apply for a job with Citizens Advice Gateshead. So the first page clearly is the particulars, the stuff that a candidate wants to see, just so they can see if that job is relevant to them. We then basically go into a section which is about a little bit about the culture and the essence of the organisation. And I think when you're working in the sector that Citizens Advice sits in, this is really important. It's about, the type of person and the values that they might have. Then there's a bit of information about all those things beyond salary that people want to know about. If we go back to the reasons that people are choosing jobs these days, there's learning and development on there, there's that flexibility piece, and also it's a real selling point. At the moment, they're leading the UK 4-day work trial experiment. So, all of that information, I think, shows them as an innovative employer. Then they haven't even got into the job role stuff here. Yeah, there's even more stuff that people obviously is important to them about holidays, health and well-being, that kind of thing, beyond, again, the salary offer. And then we get into actually what the role's all about. So by then, applicants have got a lot of skin in the game. They're very interested about what's going on. It's all been a very candidate-focused, candidate-centric. Then they can make a decision about the role itself. Then we get into a values piece. Now, there's some value pages on websites can be a little bit trite and trotted out, and you think, right, values. But again, the sector that they're operating in, I think it's really important to get that message across. But if you actually look at some of the headings here on the values page for Citizens Advice, they're really interesting, they're different, they're very, very thought through. So I think, again, a real kind of selling piece. And then at the very end, there's a very simple call to action. You basically download a job profile, upload your CV, and then there's that personal piece at the end, acknowledging that it can be daunting for somebody to apply for a new job, and that there's somebody there to support them if they want to get in touch. So I think as an example of really how to draw a candidate into what you're about and what you've got on offer, this is a really good one. Okay, so moving on. Once we've got that application, we can start a conversation. Communication is key in any recruitment process. Nobody likes being ghosted, not just after applying for a role, but at every step of a process. And what we can do is start employee care right at the beginning of the recruitment process, and getting off to a good start can actually put you ahead of other organisations out there in a competitive marketplace. But it can also provide a good foundation for a more open, honest and communicative relationship with an employee further down the line. If you get the communication right, it will absolutely pay dividends. So again, some questions to be asking ourselves at this point. What's our response time at each stage of the process? Who's responsible for maintaining contact? If our process includes automated responses, are they grammatically correct, concise, set in the right tone of voice, and are they timely? And are we building a relationship? Are we taking the opportunity to get buy-in from first contact from any potential employees? Finally, are there enough opportunities for an applicant to ask a question from an actual team member of your team? Your answers to these questions will give you a good idea of where you might be able to improve the applicant's experience from a communication point of view. Going back to Wes and our example of his recruitment process, this is an abridged snapshot of what happened when Wes submitted his application. You can see that Wes had communication from us at every stage of the recruitment process. The yellow bubbles are the application and interview points. Wes's communications are in green, and those blue speech bubbles are actually from Mark, who handled the recruitment of Wes internally at Zenith. So Wes knew what was going on at every stage of the process. He was clear on where he stood, and he had enough information to be able to assess us as a potential employer against all the other organisations that he was applying for at the time. We took the opportunity to start a dialogue with him and a relation with him from the point of application. And by the time Wes was offered the role, he'd had regular communication, a consistent point of contact, and he'd had time to be able to visualise himself working at Zenith. So communication is key, but it does need to be backed up by pace and structure. People like to plan. They like to know where they stand and not to be left waiting, and that's in any aspect of life. So why would a big, potentially stressful decision like moving jobs be any different? You need to plan the process. So you need to think about who's going to be involved, at what stage, what are those stages going to be, how will you know when you find the right person, and are you ready to make a decision? You've advertised the role, so it shouldn't be a surprise that you need to make time for interviews. Also, people have lives and they have commitments, so it's important to be as flexible as you can. You need to eliminate anything that really could stall the process. It's a competitive marketplace out there, so it's important to keep things moving so you don't lose out and miss out on that great candidate. And once you've found the one, you need to be decisive and to act quickly. A structured and thought through recruitment process will give an applicant confidence in the organisation they're applying to, and it'll help them make the decision you want them to make when it comes to offer. I'll go back to Wes's communication slide. You'll see from the dates and times in the top left-hand corner of those speech bubbles there, Wes sent us his CV on the 25th of January, and he was offered on the 30th. Obviously, it doesn't always work that way. I will point that out. However, we knew what we wanted. We were structured, pacey and flexible, and we communicated throughout so that when we did get the right candidate, and we had been looking for somebody for a little while, the process was ready to go. So when the time came, we were ready and we didn't miss out on him. Okay, so once you've decided you found your person, you can really finish off a good recruitment process strongly with an effective offer and onboarding process. Moving jobs is a big decision. It can be very stressful. So what you want is your candidate to feel good about deciding to move to you. Communication is key here again. You need to provide them with all the information they need verbally and get them excited, and then in a detailed follow-up email. So give them the confidence to make the right decision. You also need to provide an opportunity for them to discuss and ask questions. Nobody's going to make a decision if they're not clear on what it means to them, especially about around a new job. So you need to give them the opportunity to do that. And then once you've done that, you need to make them feel welcome, both in the run-up to day one and through your onboarding process. Some little good practice points for onboarding. You can send gifts in the run-up. You need to make sure that the tech stuff's right on day one. Nobody likes to be sitting there with a laptop that's not working, not connected to the Wi-Fi, and if you need to make a phone call, you don't know where the phone is. So all of that goes for a good onboarding experience. You can assign a buddy. You need to be mindful of overload, and setting clear targets and review dates throughout the onboarding process is really helpful too. So we've looked at the various aspects of the recruitment process. We've looked at considering the candidate marketplace and factors affecting moving jobs. We've examined the organisational offer that you show to the outside world, your application or your applicant experience, communication pace, structure, offer and onboarding. All of which, if you've got it right, should lead you to a shiny new starter who's engaged with a smile on their face. But I just wanted to finish things off by coming full circle and showing you this slide again, but in the context this time of retention. When we've put so much effort into a recruitment process and it's paid dividends with our shiny new employee, what we want to do is retain them. So, as we discovered earlier on, retention is much more than just about pay. These survey results show just how important a whole host of other factors are in retaining staff. And these factors are very much aligned to the pull factors that we spoke about earlier on. If you can use these pull factors to influence your retention strategy, then you'll be putting your organisation in the best position to hold on to good staff. Work-life balance, stability, recognition, benefits other than salary all come into the mix. People also want to be challenged positively, I will say, and learn new things, and they want to develop and not stagnate. So in theory, the solution should be simple. Develop your staff and discuss this development with them regularly. Support and recognise their personal growth, and show that you offer progression opportunities. Let them know basically that you care. Challenging, training and developing your team is a win-win. It leads to engaged staff who are happier in their roles and better equipped to do them. And the argument, I think, that they might be poached or leave if you don't upskill them, I think, as we've already discovered, doesn't stand up, as they're likely to leave if they're not developed anyway. So as well as looking at opportunity and aligned goals, look at what training and development you can offer. There are loads of development opportunities out there. These are just a few: apprenticeships, credit qualifications, coaching, training workshops, etc., etc. Some of which can be government funded or European funded until the end of the year, so it doesn't actually have to cost an arm and a leg. So taking a blended approach to retention, which covers all of the pull factors that we've outlined, you should achieve stability in your team. And by thinking about the recruitment process that we outlined this morning, when you do have to recruit, you'll be well positioned to recruit an individual who can add value to your already stable team. So we've come full circle, and I just wanted to finish off with a few key takeaways from the session. Please take some time to ask yourself these questions. How is your organisational offer looking to potential applicants? What information is out there, and does it reflect you in a way that you want to be perceived? Walk a mile in your applicant's shoes. How does it feel? Communication is key. Are we ghosting? Are we on the ball? Are we structured in our recruitment process, and can we handle pace? How does our offer and onboarding process feel for a new employee? And is our retention strategy pulling people towards us? Your answers from these questions should form an action plan, which will help you improve processes and help you recruit more effectively in 2023. Thanks very much for your time and for your attention this morning. Hopefully this has given at least a little bit of food for thought. And now we have some time for some questions, which I think you can ask, as I mentioned before, via the live Q&A button or via the discussion forum. Has anybody got any questions?
So we just wait for those questions to come in. And in fact, we do have some here, which is great. So Paul's asked, do you have any advice for the best way to recruit sales personnel?
There's different ways to look at recruiting sales personnel. I think there's a few things that I would look for, and I think recruiting on personality fit with your organisation is definitely one. There are lots of different types of salespeople out there, and you as an organisation will have a policy as to how you approach people, and you need somebody that's going to fit in with that. Obviously, you want somebody who's going to add to that as well, so don't be frightened to kind of think a little bit laterally around there. But I would say personality fit first of all. And I think that anybody, when you're looking at their background, some stability, and obviously their previous sales figures are very important as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And thank you for that question, Paul. We've also got a question from Jordan, which is, I appreciate speed is key in a competitive candidate market. Do you think speed can ever have the opposite effect in terms of appearing over keen in terms of offers?
I would agree with that, definitely. I think pace is important, but, and I meant to say this in the presentation, so apologies. With Wes, we went really quickly, but we talked to him a lot. And one of the reasons we went quite quickly is because I was going on holiday. We need to make a decision pretty quickly. So there are those kind of things that work in the background. But I completely agree with you. Actually, the last thing you want to do is look over keen, but you can still be pacey and talk to people to make the process feel longer if you've had lots of touch points in between. So I would go pace over caution in that respect. But I think as long as you've had that open dialogue all the way through, they should actually feel like they've been through a longer process than they have.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Well, these are the 2 questions we've had come in. So yeah, if there's any more, I'm sure we'll be able to take those via email following the event. So yeah, I think we can move on to next steps, if you like, Angela.
Yeah. So what we need to do, obviously, now that the session's finished, if you could let Umi know about the how you felt about the event by completing the event survey. There'll be a follow-up email that comes out very, very shortly, along with the action plan, as he said at the beginning of the session, that will come out immediately after, so that you've got a practical tool there to be able to help you with your recruitment. You can also access the recruitment bundle online via the SatNav system. So it's visiting the recruitment and people bundle to access a lot of support there. And then also you could get in touch with us if there's anything you need, any support you have, or any needs or any further questions that you have. Please do get in touch with the contact details there. Okay, well, I'd just like to say thank you very much indeed for your attention this morning and for your time. I hope that's been helpful, and we've hit the brief of recruiting more effectively in 2023. Thanks very much indeed.